Article 213 and stipulates clearly the command of police. Right Honorable Speaker, it is now very many months since we lost the deputy IGP. And it is clear the framers of the Constitution knew that we needed an IGP and we needed a deputy. We want to think that the Honorable Minister, in his presentation, did not clearly tell us how far he has gone in guiding the appointing authority in getting the deputy IGP. Perhaps the Right Honorable Speaker.
No, it's because he was talking about 2 bomb incidents.
Right Honorable Speaker.
That was what he was talking about. He was not talking about appointments. He was
Yes.
talking about 2 bomb incidents.
But Right Honorable Speaker,
You are
it created
crossing
the
the
gap.
line. You are crossing the line of relevance. I'm going to ask you to resume your.
But
please
it created
resume.
the gap. Thank you, Right
resume
Honorable
your seat.
Speaker.
Thank you. Please, these matters are serious. Yes, Aringa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the speech. For the statement. I want to take this chance to also say my condolence, pass my condolence to the families who have lost their loved ones. Right Honorable Speaker, this is not the first time that we have been hit by terrorists. We are a target of terrorists because of our involvement in trying to secure peace in other countries. I remember in 2010, we were hit by terrorists. That time, it was the Al-Shabaab who claimed the responsibility just because Ugandans, UPDF had gone to Somalia. We have also been in Central African Republic and other countries. So this could be possibly reasons why we are a target of the terrorists. Right Honorable Speaker, my issue here is based on measures which were put in place after the 2010 terrorist activity in Uganda. Government came up with measures people are supposed to observe. For example, when you are entering a bus, there should be thorough check of civilians who enter in these buses. All public places, there were supposed to be checkups, but it will appear all these are being relaxed. And we tend to forget as Ugandans. I remember in around 2004, when the then Attorney General, Francis Ayume, lost his life in a fatal motor accident, they had said the reason was because he had not put on a seat belt. That time, police mounted serious checkups to ensure that every vehicle must have a seat belt and people traveling should also do so. So I'm seeing that we have relaxed in all this. Terrorism is a war without a front. It can attack anyone. So I think we need to take responsibility as a country. And we will also expect that police must go back to the previous guidelines which were given to ensure that all these places should follow those guidelines which are put in place. Right Honorable Speaker, there was some issue you had raised about investigations, and many times we have talked about this issue here in the House, particularly about investigating cases. That most times we tend to be hit by issues before we get to know them. There's been a lot of professionalism, and trying to professionalize these, our forces, both the UPDF and the police. But with the police, I've seen a bit of weakness. It's good to recruit graduates, promote them, but these graduates need time to gain experience. You find somebody graduates from a police training school. This person is, say, maybe he is an officer in charge of a station. But people who had been there before for 20 or maybe 10 years have built experience. But you find there's a junior commanding seniors. This junior academically is a graduate, but he has never built experience on ground. I've seen, in my opinion, this affects transfer of knowledge. For example, somebody has come, I'm a graduate, I'm from a police training school, I am supposed to be trained as a CID officer, but the person who is supposed to instruct me is a sergeant. By the rank of an army, or maybe the forces, it is the senior who commands the what? The junior. So, in my opinion, that affects transfer of knowledge. Right, Honorable Speaker, we need to build capacity in terms of forensic and others. In other places, when these kind of situations happen, you find investigations are very fast and cases are looked into very fast. Much as we have built some capacity, terrorism is a new challenge to this country. We really need to build a lot of capacity to look into this. In my opinion, these terrorists, the nature of the explosions and the magnitude of damage, when taken into consideration, we could be lucky that these are not serious terrorists. Because in some cases, in a bus, I would imagine that how can an explosion hit a bus and this bus does not explode? So that means that this must be a local, maybe a terrorist with a low level. If there are these ones in other countries where a bomb explodes, maybe 50 persons die in a mosque, that means we'll have lost many people, or this bus will have gone. Or this particular pork joint, many people will have died. So it is my humble appeal that we need to take a responsibility. This might be possibly a homegrown kind of situation that we also need to investigate. It may not be an external situation. Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The point made by the member about Ugandans being forgetful. Once things ease out a little, they forget. Even in my own house here this afternoon, we have agreed that we should wear masks. I have seen members not wearing masks. Before I call your name, please pick your mask, put it around your mouth and nose. I will not mention you. And take that as a debt from the speaker, which you will pay one day. Can I, one more from this side, then I move that side. Brian? Yes, you. You don't want to speak? Okay. Casilo? He didn't want to speak.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Allow me to send my condolences to the families that lost their dear ones from these two bombs that happened on Saturday and this week. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to thank General Mhozi for the statement. But like my colleagues have stated, I think there are things that we know wouldn't jeopardize the investigations, but that would have beefed the general statement in clarifying some issues. One of them has been an issue of the ISIS and ADF, but also Mr. Enanga stated that this is an act of domestic terrorism. Would the minister clarify whether this is domestic terrorism or it is something else as claimed by the other terrorist groups? The minister should also come out clearly and tell those guys who are violating the SOPs that the curfew still stands in this country, or it does not. Because it's not only that bar that operates. I told him yesterday, a place called Chambers in Ntinda, just near the checkpoint within Ntinda Center, a gentleman, because highly connected, is operating a bar. On Independence Day, they went transnight. And yet the police post is even near also. I say this because I live nearby in that place. So I think your commanders either have been overpowered by the operators, or if not, you make some of us believe that they are run by people in the forces. So you need to step up your game and deal with these people and not dealing with people selectively. Another one is this one called Mbuzi, as you go to Kasangati. Just a few, I think 1 kilometer from DC Komambogo. It's a place where people operate. You even find police officers directing traffic instead of arresting. It's very disturbing that this happens. I think we have relaxed so much. There's another place in Rubaga, a place in Kabusu there. I understand it's run by a former member of parliament. You find the LDUs and the police mobile 99 parked there.
Just to clarify the record, you witnessed the police officers directing traffic, because if the record stays the way they are, you could be taken that you were one of the people who was directed.
Right Honorable Speaker, one, I'm a national leader and have friends across over. Okay. They call me and tell me. But the one of Mbuzi, the day when we came back from, I think we had gone for a burial in Igulu, we passed by, as we drove in. That's what we saw in that place.
I'm just saying you should be very careful not to self-implicate.
I'm very careful, Honorable Speaker. So I think your people need to take up. But also, Right Honorable Speaker, these issues of cameras, I think the public should not only leave it to government. Government cannot provide cameras everywhere. I think there are Ugandans who can be able, because that place, there are people, you see the type of houses, they can be able to install cameras and help government in case such incidents happen, to arrest such people. It happened to us in Intinda here at one time when someone came and burned somebody's home. It was us, the neighbors, who had the cameras where the police came and helped, and they were able to pick up the person who had set fire in that home. So I think there should be a call to the public also to help the government. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I think a strong warning should come from the general to the public, to the operators of health, to people who violate the SOPs. Minister of Health has done his part to protect us from COVID, but we are becoming too big-headed to the extent that it has cost us lives. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you, but also, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, you're chairman of the Parliamentary Commission. Our team here, without talking too much, must step up the game in securing the presence of Parliament. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'll have Kano Charity. The shadow minister, who I always allow to speak towards the end so that they hand over, has some issues, so he wants to speak at this time. So we'll speak after Kano Charity, and then I'll have the member for Nyabusozi speak on this matter, and then we continue like that.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister for the statement. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to appeal to colleagues to always comply with security personnel that we find at checkpoints, because many times we are a little arrogant when they ask us either to identify ourselves or to go through the checkpoints, because it's for the good of all of us. So let us comply whenever security asks us to go through the checkpoints. Case in point is, when we were going to Jinja on Monday as the Committee of ICT, while we waited outside the main gate of Parliament in the bus, a gentleman came in, walked into the bus, didn't say hello to anyone, and took his seat. So I asked colleagues who are near me whether they knew him, and they didn't. So I walked to him, greeted him, identified myself, and asked him who he was. He said, you don't have to know me. In a bus where MPs were boarding to take a trip to Jinja. I said, can I have a look at your ID, sir? He said, I don't have it. So that was really strange, until the clerk to the committee came and identified. Actually, he said, let that one identify me. So I found that very unnecessary, very arrogant. So in the event that a bomb went off in that bus where MPs were, that would be a big loss. So let us be humble enough that when a security person asks you to identify yourself, please do it. It doesn't cause any harm. Lastly, we have audiences of the people that we lead out there. Let each of us go and sensitize them about this threat, because security is the business of all of us. We are part of the intelligence system, all of us here and the wananchi out there. So I appeal to all of us to go to our constituencies and sensitize the people about the threat that we have. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Shadow Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I have attentively listened and perused through the statement of Honourable Minister, and it has some gaps which needs to be filled for our hearts to get to normal. First of all, I commiserate with the families of the deceased, and may their souls rest in eternal peace. As my colleague indicated, Right Honourable Speaker, when we look at this statement, it becomes hard for us now to know which area we are discussing about. It talks about two places. There is Digida and Cheers. The report is about which place? And Honourable Minister, where, as the Speaker said, that he gets the alerts, where he gets the alerts, sometimes we also get those alerts from the same sources. On 14th, we received an alert from UK and France. And the Daily Monitor the following day on 15th cut that story. Actually, more than a week from that day, we started getting these attacks. Right Honourable Speaker, one word to a prepared person to fight terrorism is enough to put him in preparation to fight it. What our colleagues in police did, they said, they need to give us details. They don't simply need to stop there. They need to give us details. But as you are aware, we appropriate money, and defense plus police get the huge or the biggest portion of our budget. When you look at this statement, apart from talking about Mr. Samuel, the minister is falling short to tell us where is Samuel right now. Is he in police custody? Because without any doubt, which we are in agreement, he was in default. He was contravening the laws. We are aware some of our colleagues take that route. This place has always been guarded by two patrols, one this side and the other on the other side. Why are you leaving this important information in this report? Why is it that you cannot tell us this place, the nearest police station is Kawempe Police, Komamboga Police, and Impererwe Police? What is the DPC? What were they doing? Where are they right now? the OC station of Mpererwe? What is the OC station of Komamboga? What is the DPC of Kawempe? Where are they right now? Are you going to redeploy them? Are they still on duty? When they slept on duty, when the Ugandans are losing their lives. We need an explanation, a thorough explanation about this. Because since Saturday when this event happened, we expect these 3 people to be in court. You cannot tell us that they are still in detention because this is a clear thing. They defaulted, they slept on duty. We expect them to be in court and deny them bail. So, Right Honorable Speaker, when we are going on the way forward, in the previous attacks which we faced years back, by this time, several adverts were running across televisions. Please don't move closer to the bags. Please be aware about who is your neighbor. Please don't go in the restaurant when there is an abandoned bag. What actions have you taken? We need to know all this so that Ugandans at their hearts can come to normal. All this is missing in this statement. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'd already picked the next person, the next member.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank the Minister of Internal Affairs for the statement and updating the country after the 2 unfortunate terrorist attacks. Terrorism is bad and it must be fought. And Right Honorable Speaker, it's not the first time that the Republic of Uganda has handled terrorism. And we have been attacked before, but our security forces have been so vigilant and they have fought terrorism, both domestic and international. And we applaud you for that. They actually need our support. And this August House should give them the support that they need. I would have loved, actually, if the minister said, we want support in this way. Let me start with the bomb attack on the bus. Public transport is so important to this republic. The tax park has one entrance, has one exit. So it should not be a problem to secure the public transporters. I would have loved, like what happens at the international airports, that we have a manifest of public transport people. Whoever is going to board the bus should be checked thoroughly, his name or her name for that case be recorded and should be shared by the police. It looks inconveniencing, Mr. Speaker, but it is better than having dead bodies. And so goes to the luggage, both hand luggage and the luggage that is kept. And even along the way, on the highways, we have designated parks where people stop these buses. That should happen. That should be the case too. Public places for entertainment. I liked the observations made by the Honorable Minister. He fell short of saying they contravened standard operating procedures. But every public place, in my view, Right Honorable Speaker, must have a camera and must have a metal detector for walk-through. Right Honorable Speaker, we are subjected to this every day we enter the premises of Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, and we are members of Parliament. That too should happen to all public places, and it should be implemented. So the bar owner must have a record, digital, for the bar people, where maybe it's not proper to call them, and people who come for entertainment. And that, again, should be subjected to check of their luggage if they have or if they don't have. So I applaud the vigilance. I call for more vigilance, both of us, people, and the security forces. And if there is any other support that they need, the minister should call upon us. If it is for the budgets, this August House should give them the budget they need to defeat terrorism, both internally and externally. I end by commiserating with the dead people. May God rest them. Peace.
Thank you very much. Can I have Kumi? Kumi District.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for the statement. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that a certain category of the students are reporting on 1st of November. For institutions, that is learning, and there is now panic across the country. Parents have a fear on the security of their children as they are going to report back. Mr. Speaker, I expected the minister to have included some preventive approaches for the rest of the Ugandans. And it is my plea that the Minister of Internal Affairs actually summarizes the key talking points for the media stations. If possible, we could have spot messages in the local languages across the country, because this situation in the country is very bad. Mr. Speaker, thugs are also going to take advantage of the situation. We know that thugs are across the country. In our sub-region, Teso sub-region, Mr. Speaker, we have seen situations where army-related clothes are sold in the markets. And many times we wonder how these clothes reach the markets. And so wrong elements in the societies are going to take on and also begin doing wrong things against the security situation in the country. So my plea, Mr. Speaker, is that this current situation of the bombing, of the terrorist attack, should be considered and spot messages be taken to the local radio stations in the local languages so that everyone becomes alert of the current situation. I beg to submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Can I have Apache District?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I am Betty Engola, the woman member of Parliament, Apache District. Right Honourable Speaker, we know terrorists. Their motive is very bad. We know they are funded. They have well-wishers. They are also connected. Right Honourable Speaker, we hear that foreign extremist groups that have been behind most attacks in the region, including Uganda. Our intelligence have the view that they are hostile. Therefore, we should not take it for granted. We should have suspicion that they are dangerous. Right Honourable Speaker, doing intelligence, you need information and concrete information. Politically, knowing what Kampala is, I urge our intelligence teams to step up in surveillance, use all their skills and expertise. Right Honourable Speaker, if they don't tackle this bomb threat, Uganda will be painted as a country that is unstable. It's a big threat, but I know our security personnel are doing their best. I beg to submit. Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable members. These things happened last week, Saturday. I'm not enjoying the trend of the debate, because when things happen fresh and everybody's in that state, we expect us to put our brains together to try and find solutions the best way, make suggestions, do this, because it's not a debate. It cannot be a debate. There's nothing to debate. The thing is, this has happened. How do we mobilize to make sure it doesn't happen again? That's the line I wanted us to take.
Yes.
Is that what you want to take?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Honorable Sewungo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, I have solutions. And I want to thank the Minister. The way you have given your report, though it has some missing areas. Honorable Speaker, we've had these problems for a number of times. And whenever time passes, people tend to forget. What happens in other countries, Honorable Speaker? For example, in buses, there must be disclaimers written on the walls of buses, on the buses. As you enter, you are warned, please sit next to the person seated next to you, find out what is holding, and check and all that. That's what is done in other countries. Right, Honorable Speaker, the other solution, and General Mohozi knows this, as my former supervisor and the boss, there are things you do not have to reveal in the public after such an incident has happened. For example, you hear the police spokesperson is defining the type of bombs that are used, the hard nails and all that. That is your confidential information. If this, yes, that's confidentiality because you are investigating. So right now, what do we need? As you carry out your investigation, sometimes it is us or you who are giving more information to these people because you're not getting your first information to yourselves, but it's reviewed very fast. If I had the powers in this country, Honorable Speaker, I would be dismissing or stopping a number of spokespersons because they confuse a lot of people. Honorable Speaker, let us avoid statements that can give courage to others. What is happening? This was a pork joint. Someone enjoys eating pork regularly because he's not a Muslim. But someone comes and says, the killers are pigs. But the killing was at the pork joint. People start playing information on the social media and make it fun. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, we need continuous education and sensitization on the people, on the masses. This is failing. That's why, Honorable Speaker, even now in this house, you are asking members to put on their masks. Because I don't know whether some of us don't know how to read, but everywhere, even where they are seated, there's some information telling them. But you must continue sensitizing them. Lastly, can we avoid politicizing this matter? General Enanga, whether it's a general, he says, why do you think that the people who came, who were there, were wearing red or yellow at that particular time? Okay, if they were in red, is it an issue? Is it necessary to stay the press at the media center? They were wearing red. They were wearing red, yellow, all this. In our mind, once you talk about red, yellow, blue, we go to political issues. Can we stop that? So, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, these are the solutions we are giving. Let us go back and continue talking to our people. You see what's happening in COVID now. People have stopped. People are moving. And lastly, can you give us an evaluation as a solution between the continued lockdown and vis-a-vis what is happening at the bombing? People are complaining. Policemen, if you don't move General Mohozi at night, your policemen on roadblocks are crying. They are tired. They are becoming tired of the guarding and keeping out at night. So what is the relation between keeping lockdown and what is taking place now? So that people go back to peace. You saw what in Kenya they did. The president came out openly, said that, don't fear the president. Tell him, if you are sitting on the front bench and you can't tell the president what is exactly happening, and you were senior in intelligence and in the army, then you are not helping this country. Thank God that the Speaker saved you and you kept here because of the other mischief that was raised. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Please don't involve the Speaker in your debate. Rushenyi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I also thank the Minister for giving us this information of what is happening. Mr. Speaker, it's good you say that we give a solution than lamenting. Mr. Speaker, they announced curfew according to this COVID, one of the SOPs. But Mr. Speaker, yes, I like the way the security has been lenient, because at times time come and as you quote my friend Elijah, when he said, "Where were you when those people were guiding?" Of course, he was also among the people who had been taken up by the curfew time. Yes, the security have been doing it very well. They ask you, if you introduce yourself, you go. But let them also look at the timing. When you go beyond 9 p.m., that is when also things go wrong. Mr. Speaker, these bars, they were stopped. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you that bars are still open. Security, why don't you go to these bars? Because in the alert they say that we need to check on this gathering. That's where they target. But I want to tell you that the bars are open every time at night, even some go on up to dawn. Can we now deploy properly? But also, going back to these functions, both the burial and weddings, I want to tell you that people have gone back to normal. We were given 200, but we are beyond. So if the terrorists are targeting gatherings, then we are yet to see more death. Can we also maybe talk to His Excellency? People might listen to him, that we strengthen the rules on some of those gatherings. Maybe with that, Mr. Speaker, we might sort out some of the terrorist targets. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And General, the operations that take place at night, the activities that take place, they are very loud. The music systems boom. Where I live, there are 3 different places. If I want some little noise, I go up on my upper balcony and I'm entertained. I then keep asking, what is happening to the people who are responsible and are listening to these things with me, and they are not doing anything about it? These things are happening. So if it can alert me who is law-abiding, it can alert another person who may not be that law-abiding and may look at it as an opportunity to do harm. Is it possible to deal with these things in more firm terms? But when you do, these same members will show up and say, oh no, they are becoming very tough on people. But we should not fear to deal with things that could cause our people problems. Yes, let's continue. Oh, I'll finish this side. Let me go this side. Peter, Bukolli Islands.
Yeah. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to thank the Minister for the statement and also condone with the bereaved. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister stated that some of the implements gathered at the scenes of crime have been transferred to Government Analytical Laboratory in Wandegea. It raises a lot of questions, Right Honorable Speaker, about the Government Analytical Laboratory. This is a place that conducts a lot of analytical evidence that is eventually tendered in court. But as we speak, Right Honorable Speaker, this is a place that is understaffed. It has a land title in question. They are supposed to begin construction. They are in dire need of assistance. Honorable Minister, this is a place we know that actually to go to court and sustain a case, they are supposed to go and even be witnesses.
Would you like to be relevant to the debate?
So, Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister was very clear, and why I'm raising the Digal issue is that actually...
No, just proceed, but be relevant.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. So the area I'm trying to emphasize is that the government should move a step to assist this institution to do better work. If it is not done, then we are actually going to hit a snag in collecting data and eventually collecting evidence that we may tender in court to sustain our case. I thank you.
Now the conclusion is very good. Yes, Padiere.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Otim Giu Isaac, MP Padiere County. I would like to join my fellow colleagues in offering my condolences to the people who have passed away during the last terror threat we had in the country. And for those who are injured, I wish them all quick recovery. Mr. Speaker, most of my colleagues have already raised very good points and solutions regarding this matter. But I would like to also add one more thing, that it will be wise, if at all, we actually instructed that all public transport, especially those going to the long routes, should be installed with CCTV cameras, because that is what is happening in other countries, whereby anybody entering in any bus, like for example, the incident that happened in the bus, we would have easily found out what happened, because the CCTV would have the recordings of what actually happened and how many passengers entered into this bus. And I do not understand why we fail to take the advice of some of our companions seriously. The UK government advised us. I do not think that actually they were talking false issues. What do we lose by raising our terror threats? We don't lose anything. We should have just raised our terror threats, and maybe people would have become more vigilant. So I do thank the government for all the efforts they are doing, the continuation that they're doing in protecting our country, but I think we should not step on the brake just yet. Let us continue having announcements on radios, sensitizing our communities on how to continue protecting our people. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Shema District. Then Buzai.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the statement, because the country was really looking forward to hearing what is happening with regard to the security of the citizens, and we condole with those who died. Right Honorable Speaker, I don't know why, as a country, why we cannot reintroduce the Mayumba Kumi. It has helped in Kenya in fighting terrorism. Because when you are, these
Who are you asking?
The microphone keeps on jumping. Right Honorable Speaker was saying that the Mayumba Kumi helped to fighting terrorism in Kenya because, like the Minister said, that these are locally made bombs. I want to believe that when people are doing something, doing this kind of bombs, there should be some suspicion around around the families, around where they are doing it from. Here we have relaxed a little bit,
People rent an apartment, you don't know what is happening, they do whatever they want to do, the next day you hear they have done something. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the members who have talked about the cameras, especially with regard to private businesses. But much as we want those cameras, are they connected to the national grid? Are they connected to the CCTV house in Naguru? How do we do this? Can we come up with a bill? Can we come up with a law that is going to enable Ugandans who run private businesses to get connected to the national grid? Because much as we have our private cameras in our private premises, especially the businesses, it will not be easy for police to notice what is taking place there. So for me, I want to believe that we should come up with a bill that will guarantee Ugandans. Let me take it, my Right Honourable Speaker, let me take it.
It's your right to do so. You don't have to.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, and thank you, His Honourable, for giving me the information. The information I wanted to give is that much as these cameras may not be connected to the international grid, as you say, but in the event of an occurrence, they can be used to track the victims. We had a scenario in the Bugis Cooperative Union where we have installed our local cameras. But when the thugs came and took away the coffee, we were able to engage the police and the intelligence, who came and used the same cameras we have installed, which are not connected to the international grid, and they were able to get to those thugs. And right now, talking, they were taken to prison. So even without, if we can only prevail over private operators as a conditionality to install those cameras in their premises, they can be of great help. Thank you.
So much for that information. That one is a postmortem, but you know, when you go to the CCTV cameras in Naguru, they are watching, they sit 24 hours on those cameras, monitoring what is happening. And that's why the minister said that in Komambogo, there were no cameras. So let's encourage people who have businesses to install the cameras. They can help, like he has said, but also when they are connected to the main grid, I think it can easily be monitored from the center. Right Honourable Speaker, I know members of Parliament are yearning to have security, especially when these incidents happen. And the policemen are overstretched. I'm speaking as the chairperson, Defence and Internal Affairs Committee. Because right now, when you consider police officers who are guarding the high-profile people, who are guarding all sorts of people in Uganda, high-profile people, they constrain the human resource of the police that would be doing lots of work. So for us, if we want private to be guarded privately, can we allocate more funding to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, to police, to recruit more policemen, so that we can have adequate policemen to guard this country adequately, rather than pointing fingers? Why wasn't the police there? Because they are constrained. They cannot be everywhere. Honorable members, let us also be security conscious. Let us tell the public, when it comes to elections, everyone is up in arms, including those local voters. They know the dates, they know everything. Why can't we inculcate this thing, the security consciousness, into our people, so that clarification?
Thank you for giving way. You say that the police is being restrained because they are constrained because they are guarding high-profile personalities in the country. Now, and you are calling upon Parliament to make resources available in order to fund that aspect of responsibility. I would want to find out from you whether the people who are now target are only high profile. I thought we were talking about security of persons. And when we are talking about security of persons, that a person who is not known as high profile is just as at risk as the high profile. That would now mean Parliament must come up with a classification. Who is classified as high profile? That requires that police engagement or police protection. Who is it? Is it you? Is it me? What about my voter in Dokolo, who will be caught up in a bus? So I think, I would want the chair of defense not to overburden the Parliament of Uganda. What I want you to say is that each and every Ugandan is entitled to protection of life and property. So can you clarify on that?
Thank you so much. Every Ugandan is a right by police because that is their role. However, you very well know you might be having even a security person at your home or with you. So right now, even amongst ourselves, I know there are members of Parliament who have security. And what did I mean? That this security that would be protecting all Ugandans are constrained. There are few. That's why I'm requesting Parliament to support for the recruitment of more police officers so that we can have security in all corners of this country. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg that issues of terrorism affect all of us, affect the high profile, affect the lower people, affect the grassroots. And I'm saying that the policemen cannot be everywhere. Let us all be security conscious, and we support our institution to do its work. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
I think the record should be corrected. The honorable member said the demand on the force, the police force that we have, is big. High-profile people take a big number. The categories take big numbers. So this leaves a deficiency in the number that is left to deal with other matters. So Parliament should help to make sure that more money is made available to the police to do more recruitment, to fill, first of all, the gap taken by high-profile people. I guess she was also making reference to some of us. Yes. And so that there is more now to deal with the general security of the country. That is the point she was making, and the records had captured it that way. And until you raised that, which made it look like it was something else, but that is what she said. So the call on Parliament remains valid, and I think we should do something to strengthen the force more and give them better capabilities to make sure that they can respond each time there's a crisis, prevent if they can detect early, and that should be it. Yes, thank you. Uzziah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
I don't speak to Uzziah.
Yes. Honorable Minister, thank you for the statement. Right Honorable Speaker, you've told us to look for solutions to the problem. Right Honorable Speaker, I think the UK government warned us in advance, and by doing so, I'm sure they have some clue or information. What we want to ask the minister is whether they have had time to share with the government so that we get more information from them. Because by the mere fact that I warn you, that means I have something or I know something. Second, Right Honorable Speaker, we've seen other countries that could be having the same dilemma as Uganda, but they have prevented these challenges. One is whether our security is aware as to why this is happening. And if we know why it is happening, this is just for information to the General and the Minister. There is a gadget, because when this happened, Right Honorable Speaker, there is a group that contacted me. We have a gadget.
Can you discuss with him privately? Because now you're exposing everything.
Yes. So I just wanted to bring it to his attention.
That he should
if
look
possible,
for you.
he can give me an opportunity, then we discuss it with him.
Okay, I think that's better.
So, General, there is a gadget that can help us. do the surveillance in a radius of 50 kilometers.
Now you are going, please.
Okay.
You have just agreed that you
Thank you, Right
discuss
Honorable
that
Speaker,
privately.
for the opportunity. I submit.
Bukoto. And then I'll have a member for Toroma.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I re-echo my condolences to the people that were affected by the two bomb strikes. But as you said, let's look forward and see how best we can sort this. First and foremost, every vice starts with a motive. And over time, radicalism has been a push to terrorism. We should be able to identify the motive of the terrorists. Is it religious? Is it political? What is it? We should then come up with a list of the potential targets. We have the PISOs, we have the DISOs, the GISOs, that could help us get to know the potential targets, such that these get more security. All have we get a deeper understanding of how best we can protect these areas. I would also want to get an assurance from the minister that we have the capability as a nation to fight this terrorism. We have enough intelligence, we have the technology, we have something that we can give the public for them to feel safe in their country today. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, this matter is critically important. And that's why we have exceeded the time the rules give us to discuss ministerial statements. Normally we are given 1 hour. If you notice, we have gone beyond 1 hour, recognizing the importance of the discussion, but we need to draw it to a close so that we can deal with other matters. Can I have Toroma?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. My condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones. In fact, one of the victims was a former DPC of Katakwi called Adrian Kwetegeresa. Right Honorable Speaker, you told us to give solutions on what the country can do to solve this kind of attacks. Because a terrorist is a terrorist, their work is to make a name by killing innocent people. To me, the most important thing, what should be done, it is to sensitize the local communities about the security issues and how they can try to identify who is a threat. I remember in 1986 to 88, I was a chairman RC1. And in my village, which has now become 3 villages, what we used to do is, 1, no visitor should come to the village without his identification. He should be known where he comes from, the number plate of his border, the ident card now has simplified everything, and if it is a car, he should give all the details, where he comes from, and the number plate of that car. Information, my brother.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The information I want to give is that not only sensitization, sensitizing the community or the locals, but we need to do this because this is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, community policing. We need to carry community policing in a way that our people get to know what is good and bad. More so, another dangerous people are the people who smoke opium.
Would you like
those people there? Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, opium.
I want security to take a very, very strict action, especially to these guests who go to these small hotels. They should liaise with those hotels, get the list of all the occupants who go and stay in those lodges, both in urban areas and in rural areas. Those are the people who can do harm to the communities. Last information.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, is my neighbor. He's my neighbor and he has done well to give me an opportunity. Based on what he had submitted, I wanted to utter this information. That in a civilized way, it is easier for us to ask people for identification. But when it comes to the other approaches, terrorists don't give you time to check and know who they are. They act in a way that you just realize that a bomb has blasted. And that is it. That is the information I wanted to give to my colleague. There's a difference. They just run over and you see that there's a blast. Thank you.
Honorable Koluo, would you like to save us from all these inaccurate information?
Yes, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, I think we should take action on getting the mobile numbers of everyone, especially those strange people. It can help us to identify the wrongdoer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kavale.
Where is it?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me way. I want to thank the members who have contributed on this matter. Right Honorable Speaker, as we continue to live in a scary environment, Uganda, all Ugandans are not happy outside there. Right Honorable Speaker, like in Kabale, there are many areas where communication network is never there. And in this situation, I'm wondering, how would you empower people to always communicate for any danger? Right Honorable Speaker, in the far end areas of the country, the police could be wanting to provide services, but they don't have manpower. Right Honorable Speaker, even the transport is becoming a challenge. Right Honorable Speaker, security is also wanting in the country, and they claim to be many and doing their services. Right Honorable Speaker, I urge the government to improve in communication services. They also they should give more power to police for them to work on this issue. Right Honorable Speaker, the services.
Power like electricity or?
Right Honorable Speaker.
Because the power is in the Constitution. Unless you are saying the one in the Constitution is not sufficient, what are you talking about, electricity power or something?
Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to tell you that even private transporters, the security is not checking on who has entered and who has moved out and where I remember when the issue of IDs were being introduced, we were expecting this to happen, to always check where is this kind of person going and what is he going to do. Right, Honourable Speaker, we need to revamp our sectors and work on our threatening environment. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Seko. I am advised that he is a corporal, so I was trying to find out which village police was this.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. And we want to thank the Minister for this statement, because the country expects some form of strengthening in order to be able to stand resilient against terrorism. Right Honourable Speaker, the National Resistance Army, now UPDF, started as a popular resistance army. And its success, I want to remind members, was mainly out of popular intelligence from the communities. To some extent, I think there is a failure in tapping and consolidating this popular intelligence network. And this is what I want to say now, that in order to effectively strengthen our fight against terrorism, there is a need indeed to revamp the popular intelligence network in the country, especially in vulnerable areas like in the city and also some parts of the up-country side. Right Honourable Speaker, on that note, therefore, we want to appeal to the security agencies to ensure that at this particular point in time, they provide a specific channel of communication for the public to be able to report any suspicions of terrorism activities. They should provide hotlines in each respective areas according to the zones, so that people can be able to call and inform the security about a possible security threat in those respective areas. We also want to say, somebody was developing this point but didn't come out clearly. We need to put the registers in place. We have structures, we have the LOCs, secretaries for defense, the PSOs, the GSOs. So we need to put registers in these areas so that whoever is in those areas, there should be a system to register their presence, whether they have rented to stay in those areas for long or they are merely sojourning in those areas. And there should be some routine checks which are conducted by the security, because this is what used to happen. They would visit the hotel, check in those areas, they check the records of who the visitors are, and after that, they will be satisfied, or they will need to carry out some surveillance where there may be some suspicion. This is something that I think we need to, again, fall back to. Mr. Speaker, I saw some gaps in the report of the minister, because whereas it is true that there is what we needed to know and what perhaps we may have to know later, the newspapers are awash with the arrests that have so far been done. And for that matter, I think the minister needed also to have pointed out these ones, because it strengthens and gives hope to the population that indeed the security is moving and doing something. Otherwise, if we don't talk about it, the public may begin to imagine whether something is being done or not, yet the security is already doing something towards combating the threats of terrorism. So I think, Honorable Minister, if you don't mind, you will also fill in some of these gaps at the end of the debate, not a debate rather, but at the end of this discussion, so that we strengthen our public and give them more resolve to fight this terrorism, because we have done it before, and I'm sure this one which he has started up can also be combated and put to rest. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Can I have the leader of opposition? You have already spoken. Can you delegate?
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm operating under delegated powers. Mr. Speaker, sir, also would like...
You cannot delegate delegated power.
Yeah, so to speak. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to join colleagues to thank the Minister for the attempt he has made to submit this statement to the August House. Mr. Speaker, our refugee open door policy may be good, and because with refugees, it is an international shared burden. But we have another element which is disguised as refugees, immigrants, with whom Uganda does not share borders with. And their countries are peaceful. We have Ethiopians here, and they own property and doing business. It's not wrong for them to be here and do business. We have Eritreans, those are not refugees. So many Somalis not under status of refugees. And there's nothing wrong doing business here. But Mr. Speaker, on scrutiny, and it is under the docket of Internal Affairs, not Minister of Disaster Preparedness and Refugees. We have so many immigrants in Uganda who do not even have worker permits. You see, the protocol that was signed in the East African community removed the restrictions for one to have worker permit only to the member states, those who come from there. But even these others, these immigrants are making mention of. They own property, they are doing work here, they have no worker permits. And now when we get a terror alert from UK government, we should take it seriously because this world is a globe, is a village, it's a global village. And therefore it is very easy for these terrorist groups to have networks. And in the face of those warnings, even when it would not happen anyway, the police should have been on a sharp alert and should have put up serious undertakings to ensure that these places, because you don't just dismiss it and say, well, because the bombs were manufactured using local materials, so this is a terrorist act but domestically perpetrated by domestic terrorists here. The truth of the matter is what you call domestic are immigrants who are also here who could be actually hired mercenaries of this militant Islamic state that has already claimed the responsibility of this explosion is in Kamamboga. Mr. Speaker, lastly, we do not condone businesses operating beyond the curfew time. But the truth of the matter is that businesses beyond the curfew time are operating selectively. Please.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank the Leader of Opposition for giving me way. Right Honourable Speaker, what the acting law is saying is very serious. Now in Uganda, we have business of drinking joints. And those drinking joints are being owned by the big people in government. The case in point in this, Right Honourable Speaker, if you are not big in this government, you will never spend, you'll never go past 7 p.m. They rush, they send soldiers, police officers to close your business immediately. But for those ones who are big in government, people are dancing from morning to morning. No restrictions, they drink the way they want. Right Honourable Speaker, the selective implementations of the directives in this country. I beg to.
Thank you very much for that information. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to make a clarion call to the Honorable Minister that we should rethink, we should re-examine this standard operating procedure of curfew by borrowing some leaves from neighborhood. Kenya, for instance, of recent, has lifted curfew after realizing that the night economy is hurting. Well, we could not actually lift curfew at the expense of lives, or even at the expense of the hurting economy. But given that already those who are supposed to enforce it are violating it, why not consider lifting it so that maybe you have better ways of securing the lives and the property of Ugandans other than allowing something that is already compromised and selectively applied? Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit. Oh, information, yes, Madam.
You submitted already. Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for giving way. I was expecting the Minister of Security to come up with a prescription of what Parliament should do to strengthen his position or the position of the security to give us better protection. Because once an alert is given, once an alarm is given, you have to make sure your wife and children are hidden somewhere, and then you hold a spear. Now, you should have told us, how did you hide the wife and children? How did you hide the general citizenship once you heard that there was security alert? We should have been alerted country-wise how to take care of our lives. Members, whether you like it or not, on matters of security, there's no tribe, there's no politics. We are all vulnerable. And we are all ready as Parliament to help.
Are you still on information?
So I want to give the Leader of Opposition that the Leader of Opposition should inform government and the Ministry of Security to come to us.
The one we have here is Internal Affairs.
Internal Affairs. They deal with security, sir. They deal with security. And there are so many, I don't even know which one is defense, which one, but they are all dealing with security. Right, Honorable Speaker?
I'm guiding you that the current one who is presenting
is the one of
Internal Affairs.
Correct.
So if you address the Minister of Security, he is not in the House.
The ministry, I want the Leader of Opposition to guide the Minister of Internal Affairs to come to Parliament and formally guide us on which area he could be reinforced in terms of budgetary provision so that we can improve on our internal security and protect the general public, not only the so-called high profile. I think on matters of security we should not categorize. We know that ministers are entitled to police and what have you, but when it comes to the ordinary people and ordinary members of Parliament like me, I'm just as important as an ordinary voter. So, Leader of Opposition, can you please guide the Minister accordingly?
Honorable,
thank you,
your
Senior
your
member.
time is up.
I'm concluding.
No.
It was the Council.
No.
Sure.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, thank you for your elaborate input into the end we desire to improve security in our country in light of this current threat. Many contributions have been made, some of them similar, others different, but I'll give a summary of my response this way. The Honorable Nambeshe talked about the issue of the Uganda Homeland Liberation Front as far as it relates to the attack in Zombo. I want to inform the House that actually the leader of that group, Howard Openjuru, and 7 others were apprehended and they're in custody. And we've also established more information regarding that group. But even before then, we know this group is linked to Codeco. Codeco is a militia in Congo, and ADF, from whence they've been coming to especially Zombo to carry out attacks. We also have links with our brothers in the DRC about how to tackle this challenge. Another member talked about the panic, that the country is in panic mode, and we need to assure the country to be calm. It's true, but also we have a role in this. It's not just government. It's also you and me to ensure that we maintain calm, we reduce on anxiety by the things we do, by the statements we make, by the actions on vigilance that we've been talking about here. Regarding the SOPs and their enforcement, it's true, there are gaps. I don't want to come here and defend mistakes. Coming to Komamboga, we noted the gaps, and steps will be taken to take corrective measures, especially about the proprietor of this place, but also the officers in charge of police in that area. Disciplinary action will be taken. Not the first time measures have been in place post-2010, but we have lowered the guard. Yes, we have, not just in regard to terrorism, but also in regard to COVID. That's why you see, I saw the Honorable Okulo Epak, before he left, talk about, eloquently about the many places that defy the COVID rules, and it gave me the impression that maybe he's one of those who move around, but it's a good information.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Dr. Okule Park passed on many years back. I think it was around 2006 or 2007. That's when Dr. Okule Park passed away. So the one who was speaking here couldn't have been him. Could have been either
Elijah
and
Okupa.
even if he was there, he couldn't have been elected because he couldn't have been nominated because he's dead. So
sorry for that one.
This one is the Honorable. Wait. This is the Honorable Odur Jonathan, who comes from around there. In case you are, you could have picked his accent being similar to that of Dr. Kulepak. The other one there is Elijah Okupa from Kasilo. So you might want your records to reflect now the correct position.
Record corrected, Right Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Elijah Okupa. Honorable Chiwanuka, before he left, talked about the alerts by our friends, the British and the Americans. Yes, we got these alerts, but also unknown to the House, like I said at the onset of my submission, we've had disruptive operations over time, and that's why I said we've been safe this far. But this remains a lingering problem. Terrorism is not something you can write off. We are not an island. There are the many dynamics I mentioned. So indeed we share alerts with our counterparts in these other agencies in the neighborhood from the British and the Americans. But also we are updated on these using our own domestic intelligence. Only thing is maybe we need to improve on communicating to the public when we think the threat levels are a bit higher. Communication strategy, I think, yes, we need to do more on this as far as it relates to this threat. The Honorable MP from Kumi talked about schools opening and then the preventive measures for schools. Thanks to this dark cloud, it has come in time, and I think as we go into that phase of opening schools, it should also be informed by the necessary preventive measures to secure our children when they go to school. The Honorable Betty Angola talked about information and intelligence and the need to step up surveillance. Yes, indeed, we need to. I can't say more. Honorable Sewungu made a very good submission.
Honorable Minister, why don't you just accept the recommendations made to you and then see how to implement them?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the guidance. We've had it all. We shall improve and we shall cap it all with a submission of what we think Parliament can help to make us even perform better. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And Honorable.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, and Honorable Minister, Internal Affairs, when members raise issues with you, it's because they have received information. And they come here because they cannot raise it another way. We try to raise them within the rules of procedure of Parliament. But you take a lot of time responding to them. And so it presents a situation that becomes very complicated. I'll give you an example. There was a question that was asked, I don't know, it's not dated. We start dating our questions, clerk, so that they are traceable. But it's question 35/01/2021 from the Honorable Mayanja Alan MP for Nakaseke County, and was asking about the selective application of the presidential directive on COVID-19 by security officers apprehending motorcyclists, leaving out other categories of persons that move beyond curfew hours. If you are responding to this question, or prepared to respond to this question, you would have discovered that other COVID regulations are being violated. And partially, this is what has led to this, because the condition became ripe for people with a bad heart to gain access to the population at those hours which are ordinarily already regulated by the COVID regulations. So sometimes if you respond to some of these issues, that looks small when they are being raised, but they form part of a sequence of events that could lead into bigger things. So this question has been there for a long time, sir. And several others that we have asked, honorable ministers, these members have said, we have this issue. Can you investigate and give me an answer? We have this issue. Can you investigate and give me an answer? But you don't respond. I wish the leader of government business was here. I would have I'm using you just for the case which was for your docket, the Minister for Internal Affairs. But there are several others, and I will now put it on Honorable Chris Marimonsi, who is the spokesman for government now. That these conducts make it difficult. You were a parliamentary commissioner, so you know what I'm talking about. They complicate the work of these members. Because they struggle, now you are calling upon them to get active. But Each time they give you information, you don't act on it. You don't act on it. Or if you do, you do after a year. By that time, things have changed so much. Look at this Zombo incident. The question was asked, I think, last year. Was it last year, beginning of this parliament or something like that? But so many things have happened. If you had responded to them quickly, we would not be having it on the order paper. Because now I'm going to remove it from the order paper. Because it's old, it's not necessary for be there. So help us when these members come and they raise. It's a partnership. They inform you, please take action. Let me know, because my people send me to ask this question. Let me know, let them know that this is taking place. It helps. It helps us do this public work easier. So I'm going to look at the order paper again. Honorable members, if you see matters disappearing from the order paper, those would be the reasons. These things of business to follow, which business is never following anything because it's never coming back to us, cannot be business to follow. So we'll remove them so that we deal with more active matters on the order paper. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and the honorable members. You are right that when members raise these questions, they are usually urgent and the answers are needed. Like when a member raises a question about the curfew and observance of SOPs, it's urgent, so that we concede. I undertake to brief the government chief whip and the leader of government business in Parliament, the Prime Minister, and that all the pending questions, I want to request that you schedule them for next week, and they will all be answered by the ministers. So we are going to mobilize the ministers to provide the answers to all the questions which are pending, so that next week, beginning Tuesday, they will all be answered. So my plea is that you don't strike them off the order paper, but as the government now, we undertake to have them answered next week. Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker and Honourable Minister. Honourable Speaker, at least the correct information I have about you is that when members have these issues coming to your office, even when we are there, you ring these ministers, find out whether they can come to respond to these issues. I've been following this thing from the 9th Parliament. Whenever we come to your office with these matters, you ring immediately. And sometimes you don't get answers, you look for the PS to get that information and the Minister of State. So the clarification I'm seeking from the Honourable Minister, who is trying to raise a defense how they're going to handle this matter. We've been here. I saw you coming in late, yet you are near the Parliament. Do you think there is seriousness in you as ministers as of now when it comes to these issues? Because even they send them to you so that you respond. And the speaker is held. We are looking at the other paper. We know what's happening. There is no business. Most of the business is supposed to come from you ministers to the speaker. And you are holding us here, sitting to look at responses of others. So do you want to confirm to us, as a matter of clarification, that we are going to take up the duty of the chief whip, who is always here representing on a number of matters when you are not around? Can you affirm that one? And you are one of those ministers, whom I'm sure of, who normally talk from the media center, matters dealing with the Parliament. Honorable member, through the speaker, and my good friend Dr. Chris Bariomos, can you want to assure this House that you are going to change the trend of behavior as ministers, despite the fact that you are given facilities to cater for you, including lady cars, that you make us stop along the road and you move with those sirens you have? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Well, you have used many words to say what I don't understand. What clarification you want? You have used the forest of words, but a desert of issues. When I stood here, I was assuring Parliament, and then you're asking me to assure Parliament. So for the umpteenth time, let me reassure the House that I am going to work with the Chief Whip and the Prime Minister to ensure that questions which are raised on the floor by the honourable members are answered as fast as they should be. And in that regard, I want to commit that on the order paper I see a question for the Honourable Minister for Security, a question for the Honourable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and also a question for the Minister for Internal Affairs. So I am requesting the Right Honourable Speaker that he does not strike off these questions because they remain important and they be scheduled for next week, and the responsible ministers will be here to answer the questions, and thereafter the questions shall be answered promptly.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you. On a matter of clarification,
on what matter do you rise?
On a clarification issue from the Minister. And Honourable Minister, the issue is simple. You have responded very well, and I know you for being one of those ministers who know how to speak properly. My question is, are you speaking to the aspect of ministers answering questions or actually acting on the problems in the questions? May we get to know what exactly we are talking about? Yeah. Thank you.
No, the first responsibility is that when a question has been asked and is scheduled on the order paper, the minister should answer the question. But of course, also most importantly, is to act on the issues which are raised by the members of Parliament. But right, Honourable Speaker, I also wanted to clarify that it is not true that I take matters of Parliament to communicate them through the media center, Uganda Media Center. What I usually communicate on Tuesdays or Wednesdays are decisions taken by Cabinet, which we feel that the public should know. And usually those which require to come to Parliament, they come through papers, motions, position papers, and so forth. So it's not true that I take matters of Parliament and communicate them through the Uganda Media Center, as alleged by the Honourable Seungu, Right Honourable
Procedure.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise on the point of procedure. To Right Honourable Speaker, there is a laziness syndrome which could be eating up the front bench.
You have diagnosed it?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
We have a lot of business in our committees which has stagnated, that partly we are stuck. Where ministers are invited, even to come to committees, most of them are not turning up. In this House, if there are issues requiring ministers, sometimes they're not there. So I'm moving from that point, Honourable Right Honourable Speaker. Procedurally, how best can this House prevail over these ministers? Both in committees to attend, that our committee reports can be processed and can be brought to this House, and also them to be always effective by attending this House. Procedure, Right Honourable Speaker, how best can we proceed and how best can we guide us that these people start working? Thank you.
Honourable members, in terms of what we do as leaders of this House and members of this House, we do our best. People should do their best. Because where you have a mandate to do something, should you be reminded to do it? It might not be a good idea. Let's do our best. Members of Parliament are doing their best. We started from the tents that people used to sweat. Now we are here. We're a little more comfortable. The space is small. We are doing our best to try and do. Let's all do our best. These reports have come to the Commission. They have come to me as Speaker of the House. Concerns about reluctance of ministers to appear. We have discussed this, that's why I don't want to repeat the content of our discussion. We have discussed this already. So let's just do our best to make us look what we should be. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the guidance. The standing rule on the side of Cabinet is usually that at least one minister from a ministry should attend Parliament, because most ministries have 2 or more ministers, but also we have a challenge of space in this era of COVID-19. So usually ministers first check the order paper, and those whose businesses are reflected usually have to come. And you must have noticed that the space is limited. So usually what I've seen is that when members see that they don't have business, I am explaining what has been happening. Don't be anxious.
Don't be.
Why? Yes.
Honorable Seunga, I'm not allowed you to speak until you smile. You have to first smile. Lower it a bit, smile, then put it. I don't want you to get to the microphone when you're angry.
He's my good friend, by the way, and we talk a lot with him. Right, no Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order. Yesterday, about 6 members of Parliament had matters of national importance here. You granted them permission. And indeed, it was the government chief whip, Honorable Tayewa, who responded in the name of other ministers. We're not around. The honorable member, my good friend, Dr. Chris Waliomus, whom even speak the same language, is he alleging that ministers are not coming because of limited space, and they first read the order paper to know whether they have a matter on the order paper. And as I've stated before, no Speaker, that you ring them. This is factual. This is factual. Members, you will see that. I hope those who have not gone there. So is the honorable minister in order to defend his fellow ministers at the cost of himself as well as coming late today, that they are failing to come because they don't see matters on the order paper, yet even in committees we don't see them. So is he in order to continue misleading this House at in front of the Speaker, who spends time to find out their whereabouts on matters of members of Parliament before you give them permission? And yet, even on the NRM, on the Parliamentary WhatsApp group, they show us members supposed to enter appearance here every day, plus ministers. So is the honourable member in order? And how did he come himself when he had no matter here and yet he's here to respond on defenses of others? Is he in order? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Is he in order to be in Parliament? Because you have said so many things.
So many orders.
What is the...
Right now, Speaker, those many things I've said, I'm seeking to know whether he's in order. Because he's defending the undefendable, right now, Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you, no Speaker.
So the point of order is the honorable minister in order to defend other ministers? What else can he do? It would be a complete letdown if he did not. So you have done very well defending your colleagues, but the substance of the matter remains that we need to find solutions that are effective for the purposes of our...
In a nutshell, right, Honourable Speaker, the pledge we are making as government is that we are going to do better by ensuring that the members of Cabinet attend the sessions of Parliament and be able to answer the questions raised by the honourable members and also act on the issues which are raised by colleagues. And I will work with the Chief Whip and Prime Minister to make sure that there is improvement, and you judge us starting next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, point of procedure.
Honourable Speaker, I'm standing on point of procedure. I have observed that in the recent past, we have been receiving order papers a day or two before the sitting. And therefore, there is no minister that is serving this government that can pretend that it does not see the order paper every day. At least you have your PAs, you have other staff who are serving ministers. So I do not know whether the minister defending the fellow ministers would be procedurally right, aware of the fact that all these ministers are supposed to know business which is coming on the floor of Parliament almost on a daily basis. So I would want, Right Honorable Speaker, if you were allowed, to procedurally find this minister out of procedure.
Point of order.
Point of order. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of order to my senior sister. Because you ruled on a matter on whether, no, the speaker allowed me to a matter was raised whether I was in order to defend the honorable ministers, and you ruled on the matter. So is the Honorable Cecilia Ogwar in order to raise the point of procedure as if she's challenging your ruling? Is she in order?
Order on orders. I'm telling you, order on orders.
Honorable members, you know, it's risky business to try and play with the speaker's ruling. That is why the procedure is there, so that the speaker also feels satisfied that it was a grave error, and he understands that the mistake might have been big. If all these members can rise at the same time to cause a challenge to the ruling, it will be humbling for the speaker to say, okay, I think it could have been a mistake, so proceed to challenge the order. That's why it is put that way, to maintain the decorum of the House, but also respect the authority of the Speaker. But if you show up as a member of Parliament from Doholo and you challenge the Speaker's ruling, it is not good practice to do that. But I think the point he was making was different from that, is whether the procedural issue we are saying is that order papers are given in advance, so there should be no excuse. I think the point that the minister made was that when the ministers look at the order paper and they don't see any active matter affecting their sector, and given the limited space, of course it's an excuse, and given the limited space, they would rather create space for the ministers whose business are active on the order paper. I know it is an excuse. I know there's enough space. I know sometimes the honorable ministers wait in the lobby so that when their matters come, they drop in. Sometimes honorable members wait in the lobby. As soon as the empty spaces, members have cleared who have had business, they come in because they're interested in participating in the discussion of the House. So there is a Professor Gwine. He has written a book. The title is Let Excuses Be Gone. So let excuses be gone. Let's do work. Thank you. Honorable members, it's not the time is not sufficient for us to deal with the subject matter coming next on item 4. It's one of those important things, urging government to address challenges facing the girl child and children in general in digital era. You remember we had a discussion about this, and then we said for us to have a more substantial discussion on this matter, the housing then was on a statement on some international day. And we made an attempt to debate without decision. We say, no, for us to have, since the matter is current and serious, we needed to have a good debate. So we said, well, can a member come up with a motion? And that is the result of that concern. Now we have a substantive motion. The time we have is not sufficient, and I think even the numbers now would not give us a robust debate, and it might be a good idea for us to stand over this matter until tomorrow, then we don't. Now, that was the only business that we could have handled today, plus what we have done. And Honorable Minister, thank you very much. The concerns that and the suggestions that you have received, process them. We might also be thinking of how we can have wider discussions with the people senior in this country to see if we can have a broader debate on this matter, information be passed direct to members of parliament, instructions on what to be done, and clear guidelines so that the population knows that instead of sitting and waiting to be for something to happen, you are part of the solution. You are part of the solution. We should find these solutions together so that we prevent things from happening. House adjourned to tomorrow 2 o'clock.
Grow together with one of Uganda's largest companies.